All right, everybody, we're going to stand for the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, me friends, welcome. Kathy, and do a roll call for us, please.
You got it. King.
Present.
Pugh.
Present.
McDonald.
Present.
Galogly.
Here.
Deskin.
Here.
Bergbauer.
Here.
Bartleson. Here. Saban. We have a quorum.
All right. Police Chaplain Ernest Jones is here to open us up.
Please pray with me. Mighty Father, first we just want to say thank you. Thank you for your grace and your mercy. Thank you for watching over our city, protecting us, Father God, putting your strong angels around us to encamp around about us to protect this city, the favor of this city, the blessings, Father God. We ask you, Lord, to have your mighty way in this meeting today, Father God. Lead, your word says, in all thy way, acknowledge you and you'll direct our path, Father God. So we look into the hills from which our help come from, and our help come from you, Father God. And we ask you to lead and guide our leaders in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen. All right. Thank you, Ernest. Any liaison reports?
I got one. This is the storms that we had in July. Lisa submitted $109,000 in expenses to the Illinois Emergency Management Association. Not guaranteed to get the funds, but in order to try for them, you have to submit it. Expenses incurred were wages and equipment reimbursement for branch pickup and fence replacement at the prime business area. We had a recent retire at the wastewater treatment plant. We've hired somebody other than a Brian or Dave or Chris. His name is Steve Sylar. So we welcome Steve to the wastewater treatment plant. They're number one and the number two business down there. So, so that's all I got. Thank you.
All right, very good. Thanks, Ben. Anybody else got anything?
I have a couple things. The final Fridays in the Park will be September 6th at 7 p.m. at the public landing. The band will be the class of 68, and there will be a taco truck. Public Landing will be selling drinks, and I'd like to say a special thanks to Donna Neville's, Gallery 7, and the Summer Art Series for all their work on this concert series. They've been a huge success all summer with a large attendance every week.
Yep.
Also, Spooky Night Out, which is super fun, 21 and over. The event is coming up on September 14th at Hell's Gate from 7 to 11. It's sponsored by the Lockport Women's Club and the Lockport Summer Art Series. The band will be Simple Remedy, and there will be vendors, dancing, food, entertainment, and more. And the tickets are available at spookynightout.com.
Right on.
I'm going to add to that. I think you guys have a little graphic for me with Sweets and Savory, because I need that.
Need a visual.
Yeah, I do. So Sweets and Savory, it's going on the 15th. It's from 11 a.m. till 3 p.m. Basically, it's like a bar crawl, except it's food. It's sweets and savory, sometimes a little alcohol. There's two routes. It's grown from having 10 participants to, as far as food establishments, to I believe we're up to 25. We started selling tickets Sunday, and we're at 160. We cap off at 400. So if you want to get your tickets, look at the bottom. It's www.worldwideweb.universe.com/sweets and savory 24.
Right on. Thanks,
And-
Christina.
Thank you.
It's been a blast. Thanks for driving that all this time.
No problem. The second thing is Heritage. I thank you again for the graphic. It's an interesting thing that's coming up, and it's going to be presented to us from Heritage and Architecture. As you can see, the front of the building, it has the glass windows on the top. We're talking about the second story, and it has the archway. The problem being is we don't have any original photos yet to determine what type of window actually went in there. But if it is a window that has that arch on top of it, what's going to happen is on the other side, it's not going to match because it's been cut out for a square, not something with the arch. So Heritage and Architecture is going to come to us for possibly some assistance on this. Just kind of giving you a heads up on this. It's a difficult project, but a lot of the things got approved. Just we're kind of facing this problem with the windows. And also regarding the awning, we're having a little bit of trying to figure out what the best thing to do is. Did you want to add any more to that?
I would just simply say that this is also going to be a facade grant that'll come before the council. We are actively looking for a photo, an accurate photo that shows what those openings had when the building was originally built. The applicant is okay either way. He's only owned it since these types of windows were in, and given the opportunity that he's going to be replacing the windows, this is the chance to return it to what its original piece was. And what I have discussed with the applicant is that, we would certainly, or at a staff level, we would be supportive of paying the difference with the facade grant money between just replacing what you see there and what the original windows would be. There were some issues 25 years ago when they were originally approved. The applicant had already bought windows, but they weren't what was approved, and so that's what got installed. And so it's a little bit messy, and so that's why I'm willing to support something a little bit higher than what would be normal. But this is going to be a very major improvement to this building. They're doing all tuck pointing. They need to replace a number of bricks on the facade. They need to replace a steel lintel that is over where the awning is. It's a new awning itself. All new windows on the second floor of the building, so all the windows on the right-hand side of that image are going to be replaced, as well as the 8 that are in the front of the building too. So it's an exciting improvement for sure. This is one of those buildings that has not had a lot of improvements in many, many years. And the facade grant is one of those things that's helping this get across the finish line. And so it's a good thing that we have it. The other project that was on the agenda last night is 116 through 120 9th Street. So this would be the building directly east of Uncle Richie's. The owner, Scott, Chris Flood is interested in restoring his facade to the original facade too, with a couple minor modifications because of some missing structural stuff. But that is also going to be a full restoration. That will also be a facade grant that will come in front of the council in the not too distant future.
Right on.
On that note, in Committee of the Whole, under new business, I'd like to talk about the updating our facade grant program, okay? Based upon just a quick valuation of the potential, what he wants to do to this building, our facade grant program is not adequate to help him properly down there, so.
All right, we'll bring it up on our new business, man.
On our new, yeah.
Right on. Anything else?
We've got a couple items. Our two newest Lockport police officers, Officer Jonathan Walzak and Officer Brooke Blank, will be graduating from the Police Training Institute Police Academy tomorrow afternoon down in Champaign. After that, they immediately begin 12 weeks of field training before being released onto their own. And second item was that Lockport officers will be participating in the Special Olympics fundraiser Burgers and Badges, which takes place on Wednesday, August 28th from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. at the Culvers in Lockport.
Right on.
I have a couple things.
Please.
Okay, well, I'll start with the short one first. On Saturday, September 28th, from 9 to noon, here at City Hall in the parking lot, we will be having our annual shred event. So make sure that you collect all your things that need to be shredded, your, bills and things like that. So it'll be free to all the residents, which is a nice thing that the city is doing for our residents.
Hold on, put it in the calendar. What was the date again?
It's going to be,
September 28th between 9 and noon.
so we want the public to come at 10. There's going to be workers and stuff showing up at 9, but we're trying to get people to come between 10 and 12.
Is there a maximum of boxes that you can handle?
No, actually, we've been pretty
When
good.
it's full, it's full.
Yeah. And it's first come, first served. When the truck is full, that's it,
September
so.
28th.
Yeah, September. Okay. Any questions on that? Okay. So here's the exciting updates and revisions of our property beautification recognition program. There's going to be proposed changes to our property beautification recognition program. One is timing of the recognition event. We will hold the annual recognition event in January or February following the holidays. The specific season, spring, summer, fall, or winter, for the awards will be determined by council members based on their awards. 2, nomination process. Each ward will be represented by two council members. Council members will nominate one property from their ward. To nominate a property, submit an application that includes detailed information and photos. I think they're allowing 4 pictures per property. Sure. The application submission, we will email a link to the application form to all council members once it's available. Brittany will follow up with nominees to request additional details or photos. And recognition, each nominee will receive a letter acknowledging their nomination and an invitation to city council meeting for formal recognition and a gift card. Hold on a minute, okay. Annually, we will recognize 5 properties, 1 chosen by the mayor and 4 from the wards. Each winner will receive a $100 gift card and yard sign. Applications will be solicited seasonally with a focus on fall/winter nominations for this year. These will be presented in early 2025. Going forward, the program will encompass all seasons. We believe these changes will enhance engagement and celebrate the exceptional properties in our community. And thank you for your support and participation.
I have a request.
Yes.
Now, for the Christmas one, you gave us a sheet that had all the information on there, and I could just put it in their door so they could contact you. Can we have a sheet like that? Because I really do not like going to people's houses. It just,
Okay.
this election's going to be tough.
We can handle that part of it.
They were flyers, right? That's what you're talking about.
Yeah. We just,
Yes.
Yeah.
we like the
yeah,
idea
it
of
did work
just
out well.
getting some recognition from the individual wards, from folks that actually live there, so.
I have a question. I was wondering, would we consider, in the past, it's been kind of decorations, lights, good landscaping, whatever. I was wondering, just around my house or whatever, a lot of people are buying up old and doing some serious renovations. Would we consider renovation work as beautification?
Yeah, if you want to nominate that and you see like a before and after picture, there's an amazing transformation, I think that's worthy, for sure.
Okay.
We're just trying to recognize residents making an investment in our community, so, for sure.
All right, fantastic. I like it. Put us to work, Joanne.
Okay.
All right, anything else? Then I was going to have Zach come on up. He's been our committee. Come on up too, Matthew. So Zach and Matthew are 2 of the members of our flag committee. So they were just going to give us an update. We had a meeting this evening.
Hello, everybody at the City Council and everybody watching. So our flag committee has come up with a couple rough ideas that we can really just start honing down But I just wanted to give the committee an update after, so long on, maybe we're forming a flag committee, maybe we weren't. So we will bring you guys back updates next couple meetings, since we're just down the hall and we end right as the city council begins. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I just want to say you guys did a great job. I mean, Zach, on the first meeting, he invited who was the guy you brought in? What was his name? Marty Callahan. So Marty's like, he came in on a Zoom call. Zach had been reaching out to him because he's, very much into vexology, the whole flag, and had a lot of insight. And so he was glad to join the meeting. And his surprise when Zach was a kid, he's like, I had no idea. You handle yourself so well in the invites and the emails. And he's run a great meeting. It's been a lot of fun watching Zach, Matthew, and some of the other young folks just really working the committee, brainstorming ideas, thinking through, why you would make decisions for the flag. So very glad that we've been able to do this. So thank you, Jen.
Very good.
Good job. And then, I didn't realize we had other graphics here, the Spooky Night
Look
Out.
at
I know we
this.
talked about that, very cool.
You left Renee hanging, man.
Hey,
You had
sorry.
graphics.
You were slow to the wheel, my bad. Cool logo. Which one? Yep, universe.com, Sweet Savory 24. And the other website is spookynightout.com. Good time, we went last year.
All right, friends, so let's move along. Looking for a motion to have a consent agenda this evening.
I'll make that motion.
All right, JR, Renee, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, so we're looking for approval tonight for a regular city council meeting minutes from August 7th, the committee of the whole meeting minutes from August 7th, our payroll period ending August 4th, bills through August 13th.
God bless you.
Professional service contract with V3 and Lago Vista HOA to repair stormwater ponds, not to exceed $150K. There's the 4-year license agreement with Legacy Events for the use at the Chevron site for temporary parking for the haunted house. And there is Resolution 24082 with Civil Tech Engineering for the design engineering services for roadway improvements for 3rd Street and 6th. Couple other, and some resurfacing. So we're looking for a motion to approve. Second. All right, Renee and Joanne, and we'll do a roll call.
You got it. King.
Yes.
Yes.
McDowell.
Yes.
Maloney.
Yes.
Deskin.
Yes.
Bergbauer.
Yes.
Arnoldson.
Yes?
Saban. Yes. Motion passes.
All right, and then we'll, just look, I guess that's everything for now. We'll do the new business request for facade stuff at the end of committee of the whole. So just looking for a motion to adjourn.
So
City
moved.
Council. All right, Pat? Second. Renee, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
That was Pat, Renee.
No, Jonathan and Renee.
Sorry, I thought it was Pat.
Got it.
Still time to get yours in, Suze.
I know.
All right, Pugh. I'm sorry, King.
Present.
Pugh.
Present.
McDowell.
Present.
Maloney.
Here.
Deskin.
Here.
Bergbauer.
Here.
Arnoldson.
Here?
Saban. We have quorum.
All right, Ben, you want to talk about
Yes.
new user here at the train station?
Yes, thank you, Mayor, members of the council. CA1 is a license agreement for Nicola's Heavenly Cucina, I think I said that right. It's a bakery, an Italian bakery, for the use of the Lockport train station. As you know, the Lockport train station has had a few bakers come and go. And whether it was COVID or the metro ridership or personal reasons, people just haven't been able to grab a hold there for long term. Nicole was here from Nicola's Heavenly Cucina, and she is would like to occupy the space for another bakery, but with kind of a twist. It's more of a Italian goods, Italian bakery, breads. You could, like, people like Joanne can go pick up some loaf breads, sweets, and maybe even potentially, soups and sandwiches someday. So I think it's kind of a nice transformation to try something a little bit different instead of just a simple bakery. We did talked to her and the other, Megan is leaving, I think is going to sell her some of the equipment and things. So we're just looking to put the lease in someone else's name and give her an opportunity. I proposed that we didn't charge rent until January because she's got to order a specialized oven that's not even going to come for 10 or 12 weeks. So she would have a limited capacity once she gets in there, potentially as early as September and October. But we feel like it's a great opportunity to try to keep some vibe going on there and an entrepreneurial spirit. I know Pat started his company there years ago, so.
Train station.
Yeah. And Nicole, if you want to come up and add anything, I'm sorry I didn't.
So I've been a baker for over 20 years, and finally you guys are giving me the opportunity to put all my lovely work to the public, which I am so excited about if you say yes. But I want to do sourdough. The main focus is sourdough, and most importantly, Italian bakery. I'm Italian, I'm half Italian, and I've had I've baked traditional cookies like my whole entire life, childhood. I'm 42 years old, so I do have a lot of experience. I've ran 3 bakeries, and I've lived here for 13 years, and I have yet to see a bakery that actually bakes real baked goods, like breads. Not that cupcakes and cookies are not real baked goods, but real food, wholesome food, healthier food too. Sourdough is a whole big thing now. Versus commercial bread, it's a lot more healthier. It's fermented flour, so when it goes in your body, it's a lot different. Your body digests it differently. It breaks it down easier. Where people with gluten intolerances, they can't. A lot of them can have sourdough. So you have people making sourdough scones, sourdough English muffins, bagels, baguettes. They make brownies, chocolate chip. The list just goes on and on. So, and that's basically what I want to do. There are a lot of restrictions in the building, but I'm willing to work around it. There's things that I wanted to do that I can't do, which I'm perfectly okay with that. I wanted to do make to order sandwiches, but with the plumbing, I can't change that, which is fine. I'm way willing to tone it back a bit. So I called the health department. They said I can do pre-made. So I want to do pre-made breakfast sandwiches for the train commuters. I want to do pre-made deli sandwiches and my whole motto is healthy. I don't like nitrates. I don't like high fructose corn syrup. Not allowed in my house. Definitely not allowed in my bakery. Red dyes, any type of artificial dye that's bad for you, no. And coffee, so coffee, I'll be making coffee, homemade, I use organic dairy. In all my cookies, I use grass-fed butters, organic sugar. I use all high-quality stuff. So honestly, I don't know of any bakery in Illinois that does this. So I think I'm pretty sure I'll be pretty successful. Fingers crossed, but I think I have something unique that I can put there. Megan has done a tremendous job there, bringing people in and trying to gauge what people like. And I'm talking to her every day, and she's telling me what people like, what people don't like, and so that's been very helpful. So I'm ready to get in there.
No, very glad. We know, I know you well enough to know you're a hard worker, and we're
Yes.
happy to see it. So.
And I am in farmers markets. I'm in Brookfield farmers markets. I already make 100 loaves of sourdough bread a week. And I brought you guys a bunch of stuff. I brought you English muffins. I don't have bread today, I'm sorry. I did not have time for that.
Are these the sourdough English muffins that are on your website?
I do have English muffins, though.
Excellent.
I brought 4 packages. You guys will have to arm wrestle some of them. But,
You guys have any questions for me?
Yeah, do you make
What's
those?
the hours?
So the hours, I plan on getting there at 5 a.m. and I'm planning, I want to gauge what people want. So for now, obviously 5 a.m., but I'm not sure about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I kind of would like to stay open later, but I have to take, into consideration like when I get in there and what people want. I was thinking about asking like the public, like,
Well,
hey,
what time does the first commuter train
I
come in,
believe
and what
it's at
time?
5:45, I think.
5, yeah.
Okay, and then what time do they get back?
Uh,
Last
6
one.
or 7, but typically when they come back, they just go right to their cars, right?
Yeah,
They-
everybody's going to-
In the morning, they linger, but like, when they're back, a lot of times they just go.
The residents would love to be able to go.
Pick things up, yeah,
You know what I'm
right.
saying?
yeah, so I want to,
Stay up, stay open.
yeah, so I want to be open on Saturdays too. So I plan on not at 5 a.m. because I don't think that's, well, I don't think that's possible. I don't think the trains are going out that early on Saturdays.
No.
But yeah, I want to see like what kind of help I get too. That's going to also depend on how late I'm staying open. I'm willing to stay from like, I'm willing to put a lot of time in this. I'm a pretty hard worker and I bust my butt, so.
Hey, Ben and Lance, would we entertain putting a sign up on State Street that kind of points their way down there?
Yeah, there's actually a sign out there now that she can have a thing underneath it for it. I mean, certainly we could do some temporary signage when she opens. There's also a sign that she can put on the building or on a little metal pole nearby. There are some restrictions about the signs that we can put on that building because of the historical nature,
Right,
but
right.
we've been able to do some decent signage for the other tenants, so we can do it with them too.
Yeah, wish you luck. We started our business 30 years ago in that building.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, and we quickly outgrew it, which was a blessing, so.
Yeah,
It's a unique spot.
it is.
So good luck.
I mean, I feel like there's so much you can do with it. Like when I first walk in, I'm like, whoa, this is bigger than what the pictures look like. I was like, oh, I could do this. I could push the counters out. I could make some room in the middle.
Yeah.
There's some things that I have to still get like approved, obviously, by the health department. But
Do you make those hard Italian cookies?
yes, butter cookies.
Italian?
Italian.
Hey, I'm an Irish guy who married an Italian. What can I say?
I'm Irish,
I just want cannolis. I just want cannolis.
and I plan on making Irish soda bread too, because I'm Irish. So, and Irish St. Patrick's Day is huge
Oh,
in
yeah.
my family. So, I will be making rye bread. I will be
Rye
making
bread with fennel
a lot of-
seed?
What? Yes, yes.
That's
Got
traditional
a pretty
rye bread.
big gluten-free menu too, don't you?
Yeah. See.
I think it looked like, did you have a post on Facebook? Okay, so
Yeah.
it is the
I was
same.
gauging. I was like,
I was gauged,
You guys
right.
want this or what? Yeah. So I do gluten-free stuff. I do gluten-free focaccia bread, sourdough focaccia bread too.
Sell some olive oils too, huh?
Yeah.
And you're gonna have little tables in there too, where you could have your coffee and.
I plan on it, yes. I already have a vision. I'm putting a Christmas tree right there in front of the window. I gotta look with the electrical though.
We might be able to add some outdoor picnic tables in the little area there by the bark that, we've got some tables, so we can.
Ben, we currently have a space reserved for Midwest soaring.
Yeah,
Is
we
it
would have
possible to
one
put
for-
like 1 or 2 spots that are
I
kind
was
of
thinking about
reserved for?
changing the signing of the kiss and fly, or whatever you want to call it. We always had that area kind of for drop-offs, but
Yeah.
it's really not utilized well, so I'm thinking we can open up 5 or 6 spots for people to come and go, and we would have a dedicated place for like an employee or something too, or just a sign that says for Cucciana, or whatever it's called. And we have one for soaring. Sorry, I'm not Italian, okay? I'm Swede, I don't know.
Cucina.
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 I have a feeling people
like-
are gonna have a problem.
Not hoochie coochie.
Yeah,
Talking about
it'd
Swedish
be nice
meatballs,
if they
it'd be
had.
right there.
It'd be nice to have some parking there that's, so you'd never just, wouldn't have to
Yeah,
think
I'm
about.
going to work with Brian and Joe, and we're going to re-sign that area. And
Perfect.
yeah. The trick will be that hopefully commuters don't try to sneak in there, right? So we'll have to like no more than 4 hours or something. We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
All right, anything else? We good with the consent then?
Good luck.
Thank you. Yes.
All the best. That's exciting.
So I have like cornflower cookies, I have Italian lemon cookies. You guys sourdough pumpkin bread. Yeah.
Whoa. It's going to be a rumble at the end of this meeting.
I think we're down here, we're closer.
Wow.
Chief. Me and you. You just slide around.
Make sure he had his guns.
Thank you.
Just grab a bag, run. We'll eat it tomorrow.
All right, guys, next is AT1, so
Yes.
Sonny, what do you got?
Yes, thank you, Mayor, members of the council. Not the exciting baking stuff, but right-of-way dedication, these two items. The first one is off of 930 Lincoln Street. It's an alley, it's a sliver of property that's already paid for and used as an alley. The property owner, when we were doing the, I think the 7th Street channelization project, we discovered that that property was still, that alleyway was still under the ownership of that property owner. He does not want it. He doesn't want the liability of it. So this is a dedication of that portion, and the owner will be compensated for the amount that the city will be taking and maintaining. So if there's any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer them. And then the second one is also another right-of-way dedication. This is a property that's at 14817 South Gauger Avenue, which is in unincorporated Will County. They need permission from the city for the Gauger access, and it was discovered that this right-of-way should have been dedicated. It's easement right now, and this will help the city in any future development if we end up improving Gauger or widening it. So that's the other dedication. If there's any questions, I'm more than happy to answer them.
So on the first one, I mean, I'm just used to dedications, us, giving property to somebody that we don't use anymore. Or, was a road, but it's never been a road.
Yeah.
This is the opposite. This is a
This
person
is
giving
the
to
opposite.
city.
Mhm.
And you said there, he doesn't want to maintain it, doesn't want the liability, but he wants us to pay him for it. What?
Well, we're paying him for that portion of the alleyway that we're taking.
That's what I'm saying. So how are you guys coming up with a price on that?
It's based upon the assessed value. I think it's going to be maybe $800 or less. It's a very minimal amount that, we're paying him for that little amount.
We put an alley in there, and what happened was the alley encroached onto the property, and his property stake was further into the alley. And all Tom wanted to do was to get a clean plat to say, this is my property, this is the city's, so that when he passes the property on to his kids, there's no dispute on property. So thanks for taking care of that really quick. I
Yep.
appreciate that, and
Yep.
I'm sure Tom will be very happy about that as well.
All right. Anything else then? You guys are good with consent on both of these then?
Thank you.
All right. And then, why don't we talk a little bit about updating our facade grant program?
Yeah, so if we go back many, many years, when they had the original facade grants, long before any of us were around, that funding basically came from the general funds, and it wasn't very much. And then when the video gaming revenue started in November of 2012, now there was a new source of revenue. And back all those years ago, nobody, I can remember, thought, well, if the city could go ahead and collect $70,000 a year in video gaming revenue, that would be a lot of money. Well, it's much more than that now. So we kind of tweaked the funding for the grants from basically general funds to video gaming revenue. And our ordinance basically says is that goes toward, the video gaming revenue goes towards the rehab of downtown. And we used that money over the years in lieu of what we were expecting from the TIF, because the TIF has never really been a functional TIF. And so it was good. we added, I don't know, probably around 2015 or so, we added what became our code compliance grant. The original intent was a sprinkler grant. Because at that time, that seemed to be the, and it still is, a high cost. The wording of that grant is, I never really liked it. I always thought that if we're going to require, and we should require, that rehab of these buildings have sprinklers, then if it's in our historic downtown, then we should have a far greater grant type of a program. So I never liked this 50% of this and this and this and the maximum 25,000. But when somebody's putting in a lot of money into an historic downtown, I always thought that the potential funding was inadequate. And as the video gaming has increased, and so based upon Lisa's projections, this year is going to be about $360,000. So $300,000 more than, if we just make $70,000, it would be a great thing. So, not last night's H&A meeting, but the previous H&A meeting, there was an update of the original, what was it, National Historic Trust, or whatever that was, those big things in Kimberly's office. That it's been kind of condensed down. That was the Ball State or whoever did that, okay? So my first thought of, when I looked at those documents was, well, wouldn't it be great if we got like a forensic analysis of what needs to be done on these buildings? I have no idea how much these buildings are going to, with the analysis, forensic architect, because there are restrictions or guidelines, recommendations from the, is it the National Historic Trust? It's National Historic something.
Yeah, I mean, we have a couple different evaluation metrics. We use the Secretary of the Interior standards. The particular study that Darren's referencing is we engaged the Ball State Center for Historic Preservation to develop two different documents. One is a series of facade recommendations for 15 different buildings downtown, and that is the package that he's referencing, and then they will be working on the overall historic preservation plan this fall. Now that they're back in school, that is their objective for this fall. We did discuss last night a little bit about, some modifications to the facade recommendations based on the conversation that happened at the meeting. I'm assuming you were at, given what I'm hearing you say. So those are all different evaluations, and the goal with the recommendations is that H&A will review all of those and basically give them all approval, so long as the owner does exactly what's in the document. And so they won't have to go through the H&A process, because those designs have already gone through the H&A process and they've already approved them. And that helps to speed up the facade grant program.
And it builds upon that, because what happens is when we're going to go ahead and be very restrictive to these guidelines, all of a sudden, the cost goes up. So it isn't putting some vinyl windows into a building, it's a wood-clad, wood-covered, okay? And it's a specific type of, if we could go ahead and get some Joliet limestone or something, well, that's going to cost more than a cast type of stone, if we're going to be historically accurate as we possibly can. So that means the cost goes up, but it is our historic downtown, and I think that the city shouldn't have 100% responsibility, but it should have a far greater responsibility than what our current program has. I don't have any idea. It'd be great if we could go. So I thought, well, we take one building a year, and if there's 15 buildings, 15 years, and the number would go up, not maximum 25,000, it could go up into the 100,000 range, and if we're collecting $360,000 a year, we're still going to be having some, yes, I know some of that money has been earmarked for other things.
Okay.
However,
I'm sorry.
these old buildings are just as valuable as into the history as a new building coming in, okay? So instead of...
Maybe even more so, Darren, because if you bought a really dilapidated building and the city spent all this money rehabbing it, and then you sold it, you'd make a ton.
Right. That's.
But it's still the city.
So I
Well, the
guess,
city doesn't own it, though.
I guess, so.
Correct, you're correct.
That's just one way that,
That's a good point.
Yeah,
But the
that
point
we don't want it
is,
abused
okay,
by
it becomes,
enterprising.
I've always thought that our current facade program inhibits making a building as historically accurate as we possibly can.
That's the part I'm not following. Why
I don't
does it
think that's
inhibit?
true, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
well, I do.
we've made a propensity of applications in the last 2 years of coming to you with money far exceeding the current program. Now, I have no problem if you guys want to change the parameters on how much you want to give away, but I think we have to budget for a set amount each year, and whatever it is, when it's gone, it's gone. If you want to give it all away to one building instead of 10 buildings, that's up to you and your consent,
But it's not giving away because, or am I wrong on this, is if the project costs $10,000, the owner pays $10,000 and is reimbursed $10,000.
Correct.
Correct.
Yeah, it's
So
a
I mean, they
50-50.
have to come up with
It's
money.
50/50, but we're,
There's a difference between a $10,000 improvement and what the students are trying to do with the Lockport vacuum. I mean, it's substantially more than,
Well, my best guess is that Lockport Vacuum will do what other people have done. They'll be like, look, I appreciate that there's a maximum amount of the grant. This is gonna cost $85,000. Does the council see fit to going a little further? I can't think of a time when we've denied that. So, and then when it's become obnoxious, like with the brick, when we were dealing with the moose, I mean, there came a point where it's like, okay, we can make a call and say black brick will be fine because that cost to use the original material was just so astronomical, it didn't make any sense. But I think we've done fine at
what we
discretion.
don't know at this time with any of the 15 buildings that are in this Ball State, we don't know, we don't have a 2024 estimate of what the historical restoration of the facade of any of these buildings is at this time. I'd like to know that.
Well, yeah, aren't they kind of compiling this and?
We won't be doing pricing on the recommendations. Our goal is to simply identify the improvements that would be necessary to bring it up to, there's two different levels of improvement. One is the aspirational goal of the H&A, which is return it to its full historic facade. The reality in many of our buildings is that structural members of the building have been removed. The example I used last night was, if you look at the Cornello Travel building, obviously the stucco was not the original material that was used for that building. It had the typical full-height windows, it had steel columns, just like what you see on the front of 1000 South State right now. But when we did some investigation, all those columns are gone. And the windows no longer have that height. And the issue that we always run into is that none of these buildings had HVAC back then. And so a lot of the ductwork and the IT stuff and everything else runs above ceiling tiles, which, you know, when you look at the facade, that's why so many of our buildings have roughly 3 feet from what used to be the top of the window down to cover up what is now a ceiling tile cavity between the original ceiling and where we are now. Some people have done exposed ductwork, which allows that for that full height window, like what you see at Nick and Ivy's today. That has the full height window, but if you look at Amazing Fantasy Comics, or you look at Ron's building, or you look at, you know, many of our buildings, that's the reason why you see that piece. And it's just simply a factor of the methodologies under which many of those buildings inserted HVAC, air conditioning, heating, and all that kind of stuff. So to the point that I think you're working to try and make, Darren, our facade grant program, kind of to what I alluded to tonight for Mr. Studer's building, is that, you know, our program allows for him to have up to $20,000 on both facades. So he's got a visible facade on 11th Street, and he has a visible facade on State Street. So there's a $40,000 max that he has for his building. And then what I have shared with him last night, at least from a staff standpoint again, is that we would be supportive of inserting into the facade grant what is the difference between just simply replacing the double hung windows that are in there now with the historic windows that are a part of that. So that grant request will exceed the 50% that is in that, and we have done that with Bill Klunk's building. We exceeded that 50% with that one because we wanted to get the more historic windows that were a part of his design. He had some approved that were not the original masonry to masonry opening design, and we approved, or the council approved, an exceeding amount above and beyond the 50%. So we have taken it from that approach to try and more accurately represent those. But we do run into a number of situations where, you know, there's just not a possibility of returning it to the historic thing. And so whatever the percentage the council would want to set, I don't really care per se, but we are willing to make the case for those projects that do need to exceed it over the 50% amount. But there are some projects that can't return it to its historic value. There's just not an opportunity because of some of the things that are missing from
Well,
the
I guess what I'm saying here is when the original facade grants, all those years ago, they were basically for awnings and paint and replacing wood around windows. Well, we have evolved beyond that. And the current program, which is 10 years old or so, since we have this momentum now, I think we have evolved beyond that. I don't know what the next thing is, but I do know that if we want our town our historic district to be as close to 1896 as we possibly can, which is, of course, the date of the fire, then, and since we know inflation at 5% a year over the past 30 years, so the cost to do these things is far greater. So it's just something people can think about it. Nothing.
I mean, that's fine. I mean, I feel like somebody's abducted Darren and replaced him with you. First off, we've been beyond awnings and wood around windows for years now. We've been accommodating many kinds of facade requests.
Gallows.
We upped it from 10,000 to 20,000 as a council. So we've tried to acknowledge that costs are higher.
Done 75,000.
And then when we've had higher requests, I can't really think of too many times where we haven't been able to accommodate it. I mean, we have to have a
I think it's a
benchmark
great
at
debate,
someplace.
and we're happy to put more in the budget if so directed. Lisa and I would caution that I think we put 150,000 in, each year for the last few years. Some years they spend it, some years they don't, right? If we feel there's gonna be more demand, do we increase that a little? But we do set aside that fund for beautifications when we fix, right-of-ways, or we do things with, the plantings and things. We spend some of that money ourselves from the gaming fund. We give some to the developers, up to 6 figures for big 30-unit buildings, right? We've done things with facades, whether they're $20,000, $40,000, or $50,000. So that $300,000 a year, I'm happy about. But there's only so much each year that we need to budget, and when it's gone, it's gone. But we're happy to entertain a higher limit of grants or a high limit of money in the budget. I think it's a great discussion for the budget time when we get together. I'm thinking maybe we could even, Lisa and I could do an analysis with maybe Lance and Patrick about how much has been available for the last 10 years and how much has been spent every year for the last 10 years, and let's see what it looks like. If there's a trend there that needs to go up, certainly we can go up. But the council has the ability to bestow any amount beyond any policy, frankly, if you so choose. If you want to change the rules, the parameters, that's fine with us too, so.
Yeah, we modified the application in 2020 to allow for the city council to have discretion if they wanted to exceed the amount that was in the program. And so that is in there, and that's one of the reasons why I bring in front of you a number of projects that do exceed that amount, because there is that language in there. If there wasn't that language in there, I wouldn't be able to bring that in front of you.
Do you feel there's a need to split it into 2 grants, one for the historic district and one for everybody else who's not in the historic district that has a business? Or do you think it's fine just to have one?
We expanded it as a part of that 2020 grant to go all the way north to Northern Drive, which would encompass the Marino Plaza, which is why Caesar for Villanova did get a grant. And we extended it east on 9th Street all the way out to Clover Ridge Drive, which would be Coombs Corner out there. So it does incorporate nearly every part of our pre-1990, 2000 buildings, which hopefully none of our ones east of Clover Ridge really need facade grants at this point.
We did one outside of the zone because we asked the council to cover something that didn't quite meet the map. But
and we do, yeah.
This council's been very generous over the years that I've been here, and I think it's great.
That was one of the other changes that we made, is we allowed the council to have discretion that if there was a site that wasn't directly in the identified corridors, that the council has a discretion to approve that as well. I know that we have talked to a church and some other places. There was a church over on 10th Street that wanted to replace their steps. They're not quite at a point where they're ready to do that, but those kinds of things we would plan to bring in front of the council as well. So there is a lot of flexibility in the way that we rewrote it in 2020. We have only exceeded our budgeted amount one time in its history over the last 22 years or so.
And we do try to get the word out and tell business owners, and you're right, a lot of it that they knew about the awnings or something, but they didn't realize they could use for their building. And so Lance and I talk to owners all the time. It's just getting them to actually spend some money too. So, I think there's enough latitude in the program that, and I appreciate Darren willing to help businesses in the district, but I'm not sure we need to change any of our parameters. We can still do that today, but we can increase anything you want.
One of our biggest challenges is just simply getting owners to want to take the first step, wanting to identify somebody who can help them with that first step, architect and other folks, because a lot of people just don't know where to go. And so that's one of the reasons why we wanted to do these facade recommendations, was because we were able to give them a professional perspective on improvements that they can and should do. We've been working with Main Street to identify a contractor list for historic buildings. We can't do that as the city. We can't recommend certain contractors to take on work, but somebody like Main Street could produce a list for masonry contractors or window installers or painters, or name your favorite work effort that would happen downtown. So they are working on that list. A couple of the members are some of our more strident historic preservationists, and so they've done a lot of work with a number of those contractors. So we're trying to pull that list together that we can refer owners to as well. So we are seeing a lot of progress. These 2 projects that will be in front of you soon are certainly representative of that effort. We want to be judicious with the amount of funds, though, that we do give out, and not make sure that we're precluding some other developments from occurring if we do need to support those as well. So, I feel very comfortable with the amounts that the council has approved over time. And I think that the council has been very supportive of those projects that are certainly justifiably over the amount. I don't feel comfortable just simply giving you an amount that's over the restriction just because I feel like it. But if there are justifiable reasons, you know, they want to go an extra mile, they want to do something special, they want to do X, Y, or Z, I feel comfortable supporting from a staff level an additional amount above and beyond what our minimum is.
Yeah, let the situation dictate
I
it.
think it's been a good review of all the things we have done to get where we are, so, okay. Anything else, friends?
Do you want to talk about liquor bottles?
Oh, we were just going to talk a little bit about, I've pretty much talked to all the council members about moving forward with our tobacco thing and the 20%. So, you know, more than 20%, you have to have a special use permit to sell tobacco vapes and such. And then also to sell paraphernalia. So that's what we're going to ask to put on coming up.
Yeah, I'll present our ordinance. Just for the record, for the clarification of the meeting minutes, this is in conjunction with the committee that the mayor recommended to address tobacco shops and defining what is a tobacco shop. Currently, our code states that 80% of tobacco sale, then you're a tobacco shop. But it's 80% is pretty high. You know, most communities have about 50%. It's not, there's twofold regulation. One is the tobacco license. If you sell tobacco products, or cigars, anything like that, you need a license. That's in Chapter 135. There's the zoning code regulation on tobacco shop, how close it can be next to a school, or whether or not it's a permitted use or a special use. And currently under our zoning code, tobacco and smoke shop, they're permitted uses in C2 for smoke shop, and tobacco shop is a special use. And then C3, which is mostly our commercial area, they're both permitted uses. So it's twofold, whether or not they're permitted and whether the licensing will require them to have more regulation. If you sell more than 20%, then you need to keep some of the more, products that we don't want out in the window toward the back, and make sure that they are, if they are true tobacco shop, that they have to have only 21 years of age or older enter, things like that. So I will be presenting an ordinance draft at the next committee of the whole to address that discussion.
I just hope that within this draft that the term non-regulated psychoactive substances is in there, because that's really the issue. The issue in tobacco, the issue is non-regulated psychoactive substances.
Yeah, it is, and so it's all kind of.
In that portion, we're
We've
waiting
never
the
had a
state.
license
Yeah.
for non-regulated psychoactive, so this is where we have to
The state legislature is
incorporate it
going to
in.
opine on that, we think, this fall, but we'll see.
Yeah.
But it's fine. I mean, we can
put it
start
in,
with
if
the
the
tobacco.
state
Yeah.
does something different, that's
We can
fine.
amend
but-
it later, sure.
Yeah, we could put it in
I
there.
mean, I say this all the time, unfortunately, government, we end up oftentimes having to be reactionary when we do things, simply because, we have to wait for stuff to play out. I mean, when they legalized marijuana for recreation, suddenly, it used to be that bongs and glass pipes were paraphernalia, you say, hey, man, you can't have that stuff, but now it's like, okay, how do we deal with it now that it's, so we have to think of different ways to deal stuff after the fact, so we end
This will
up being
mostly be about
reactionary.
three or four retail locations in the Class E category. I think, so.
Well, that's a liquor license. That's a small bottle. That's a different
that's the
issue.
other- sorry.
Well, that's
a
the other thing,
different
we
issue.
talked about some small bottles,
Yeah.
so we could just put that up for a discussion.
Yeah,
We could-
the other, do you want to propose ordinance amendment, or do you want it up for discussion? Do you want an actual draft?
Yeah, just do a draft,
Okay,
let's
draft,
start
yeah.
there.
Okay.
That's all
Give me
good.
that one, yeah.
All right. Well, if there's nothing else, then look for a motion to adjourn. Joanne?
Second.
Second by Pat, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Almost made it to 8 o'clock. We were supposed to be out here at 7:30.